It's the Devy Digest, powered by League Winners. I'm Andy, and we're talking the 2024 NFL Rookie Quarterback Class. We cover all this and more after the intro. What is going on, everyone? In today's episode, we are breaking down my top 10 quarterbacks for this 2024 NFL rookie draft class. So let's get right into it. The quarterback one is going to be Caleb Williams. He is 6'1, 215 pounds. Now, he does have elite arm talent. He does make off platform throws with ease. He is able to layer his throws, and he is a creative player. He does throw at multiple arm angles, and I think that's where the Patrick Mahomes comp comes into play. They're both able to make plays with their arms where they can throw multiple arm angles and different directions, but that's pretty much where it ends. When I look at him, he's more of that prime time Russell Wilson or the Kyler Murray mold. Caleb is closer to that than he is with Patrick Mahomes. But to further go into detail with Caleb Williams, he does extend plays. He's a very instinctive player, and he goes through his progressions. Now, some things that he does tend to do on the negative side, he does tend to hold on to the ball a little bit longer. What he does with that is he's trying to extend the plays, get the big plays going, buy time for his receivers to make the big play instead of checking down at times. Now, at times there are situations where he should be letting the ball go to his check down and move the chains, but he will try to make that big play, and that's a positive and a negative. He does prefer to play out of structure. He is someone that will run out of the pocket, kind of wait for what's going to happen, and he will scramble out and try to get his receivers some additional time to get open and whatnot. Now, this past season at USC, 23.7% of his dropbacks were screens, with 38.5% of them being play action. When he is under pressure, like with most quarterbacks, they tend to take a little dip. He was under pressure at 33.2% of the time, which was 151 dropbacks per PFF. Now, he had a 47% completion, and while that seems to be low when we take a look at these top 10 quarterbacks, or my top 10 quarterbacks, that is a pretty good percentage. Now, he did have 4 interceptions while under pressure. His A dot was also 9.2 yards. Now, with Justin Fields being traded, Caleb Williams is going to be a Chicago Bear. Now, let's take a look at what he will be inheriting with the Chicago Bears. This offseason, they went and they acquired running back DeAndre Swift. They got wide receiver Keenan Allen, tight end Gerald Everett. They also do have Cole Kmet. They have DJ Moore. At the running backs, they have Roshan Johnson from last year. They still have Khalil Herbert for another year. So there's weapons on the offense for Caleb Williams, with Justin Fields being gone. The Bears defense, it's gotten a lot better. So Caleb Williams is in a position where he's going to be in a good spot with the Bears. The only thing is, will he mesh with what Shane Waldron wants to do? And that's something that we'll have to see. But he's going to be a Chicago Bear. So Caleb Williams, he's going to come in with a very good system, very good offense. And the Bears also do have that second first-round pick that they can use for an offensive lineman, or if a receiver is still there, they may go for Malik Neighbors if he drops down, Roma Dunze if he's still there. But, they also might attack the the defense. So there's a lot of options for Chicago, and if you're a Bears fan, you should be excited with the moves that they made this past off season. Now the trade to Pittsburgh for Justin Fields for that conditional six could be argued, but it is what it is. He is moving on, and the Bears will likely get a 6th round pick unless Russell Wilson gets hurt and Justin Fields plays more than 51% of the time. If he does, that will turn into a 4th round pick. Now, my number 2 quarterback, I'm going to go up front and say I'm fully transparent. I'm a lifelong Michigan Wolverines fan. I have a Michigan pod. I have a JJ jersey in the background. Call me a homer, that's fine. My number 2 quarterback in this class is JJ McCarthy. He's 6'2", 219 pounds. Now, as someone who doesn't ever want to be viewed as a homer, I guess, I'm always harder on Michigan players. I've always been harder on Blake Corum. I've been harder on Donovan Edwards. I've been harder on Colson Loveland. I've been harder on Roman Wilson. And I've been harder on JJ McCarthy, but he does grade out as my 2nd quarterback in this class. With JJ, he is a very good athlete. People tend to forget that as a true freshman, he was used as the Wildcat RPO quarterback. He was put in when the team needed a spark, when they needed a key first down, or if the coaching staff felt the offense was kind of stagnant, they would put JJ in to kind of be that spark plug as a true freshman. Now, throughout his time at Michigan, he did improve with every passing year, and he does sense pressure pretty well, and I do like that about him. He is light-footed. He is very nimble. He is someone that can avoid and evade a rush. He's able to extend plays and make off-platform throws. He has very good arm talent, and he does show good accuracy. He makes something out of nothing. He will stand tall in the pocket. He will wait and hold the ball and take a hit to give his receivers some additional time to get open. Now, he is someone that is mentally tough. He wasn't named a team captain this past season, and he took that and became the best teammate that he could be. He would be the first guy on the field to cheer his team. He would lead by example. He would pick guys up. There were times where they would be up 38-0 or whatever the case was, and they had their second, third teamers out there. And instead of just being on the bench talking to the guys, he was watching the game and he was cheering them on. And as the offense came off the field, he would be the first one to kind of cheer everyone up and give them high fives. He was engaged the entire time. And that is something that I do like about JJ. Now, there are some negative traits to his game. His accuracy is not consistent, and that comes with time. That accuracy just comes and goes. Sometimes he will make a perfect throw that you go, wow. And then the very next play, he'll make a throw and he'll make you say, wow, in the other way, where it's, what was that? He does have some decision-making issues at times, and to me it's due to not having enough reps as his peers. So he is up and down with his play. That inconsistency, I believe, can be fixed with time and with reps. He wasn't going to get 500 passing attempts next year at Michigan, so he did what was best for him. He declared for the NFL draft. Now he is going to make plays in the NFL. If he starts from day one or if he sits, he's going to be a playmaker. He's not polished yet by any means. He still has a lot of growth to do. I've always said the perfect landing spot for him is the Minnesota Vikings. I've said that since September, that the Vikings is that perfect spot for him. Now, with Kirk Cousins being gone, with JJ possibly stepping in as a year 1 starter, or even if they give Sam Darnold the job and JJ sits and he overtakes the job middle of the season, whatever indication is, I still believe that the Minnesota Vikings is the perfect landing spot for him. The Vikings picked up a 2nd first-round pick past couple of days ago, so they do have ammo to trade up. I'll always view JJ as someone that is going to be a top 5 pick rather than a latter half of the first round. I do believe that the perfect landing spot is going to be that Arizona Cardinals spot. Now, like I said, fully transparent. I am a Michigan Wolverines fan, so this may be a little bit biased, but I do see that him being a top five pick can very well be a possibility. Does he slide and go all the way down to where the Saints are? Yeah, there's that possibility, and even further back if he goes to the Rams or even further down. I do see that, but for me, where I have it going, I do see JJ going where the Arizona Cardinals slot is. I do believe that the Cardinals will trade down and then a team will trade up. And to me, it's always been the Minnesota Vikings. Now, some of the analytics with him, only 8.4% of his passes were on screens, 23.8% were play action, and he was under pressure 30.5% of the time, or 113 dropbacks. And he had 63.4% completions when under pressure. So that quick decision making that he does, he's very quick to study the defenses and know where his first and second reads are and where he should go with them. He's very quick to know if his first read is there or not. He'll move on to the second read, and that shows right there with that stat with him being under pressure. And his A dot is 9.4 yards. My third quarterback in this class is Drake May. He is 6'4". He came in at 223 pounds at the combine. He has elite arm talent. He has very good mobility. I comp him to a Justin Herbert, Josh Allen rushing upside. He does throw with anticipation, and he is able to go through his progressions. I do like that he does layer his throws, and he is able to manipulate defenses. He does have good field vision, and he went through two different offensive coordinators in his 2 years there, and he still showed his talent and his ability at the quarterback spot. The two coordinators that he had were polar opposites, and he still made it work. Now, Drake May does need some things to improve on. He does need to have some improved footwork. His footwork at times is a little lackluster, and because of that, he will float some balls and he can be inaccurate at times. Now, when he does get hurt and pressured, he does make questionable throws. Now, there are times where he simply has a couple of guys right in his face within a couple of seconds, and he just throws it up. And he hopes that Tez Walker will come down with it. He will also overlook dump offs to take the deep ball shot, and he trusts his arm at times too much. He will throw into that tight window and chance it and take that risk because he believes in his arm talent. That's a positive and negative. Now, 11.5% of the plays were screens, with 26.1% of it being play action. When under pressure, he was pressured 29.4% of the time, or 149 dropbacks. He had a 43.3% completion with five interceptions, and his A dot was 11 yards. It's likely he'll be a top 10 pick. Um, you know, the Patriots, the Giants, those are a couple of landing spots. Um, the Broncos could be another landing spot. So we're looking at quite possibly another team trying to trade up because there is going to be that rush for a quarterback because that top tier does dry out. And so there are going to be teams that are going to try to be positioning to get ahead of the other teams and to try to get their guys. So I do see JJ McCarthy being one of those guys, Drake May being another guy. And the next guy that we're talking about will be the final guy in that group, and that is Jaden Daniels. He comes in as my fourth quarterback. He is listed as 6'4", 210 pounds. He did not weigh in at the combine. LSU has not had their pro day yet, so we don't know the official weight, but he is someone that is a true dual threat quarterback, very twitchy. He is very athletic. He shows good speed to evade and a very good runner. He's also mentally tough, and he's grown as a player. He started his career at Arizona State. He started as a true freshman, and he regressed his second year there. He transferred out when there were some coaching and NCAA violations. And when he left, the Arizona State players trashed his locker room and they had a bunch of negative things to say about him. His first year at LSU, it was up and down, and he did improve his craft. He had a breakout year this past season as a passer. And what I like about him is he does have a quick throwing motion and he does throw a nice deep ball. He did improve as a he was able to go through his reads this year. He went past his first and on to his second, and on occasion will look to his third read. But I do like that he did more by reading defenses than he ever had in his other years combined. So I do like that about him. And he can manipulate defenses, so I do like that as well. Now, there are some negative traits about him. He takes too many big hits right away. He takes too many big hits. His frame, he's got a real wiry frame. I mean, you take a look at him being listed at 6'4", 210 pounds, but when you watch him play, he is thin and wiry. And those hits that he's taken throughout his career, he won't be able to take that in the NFL. We saw this past season with Anthony Richardson. He took a couple of hits and he was sidelined for pretty much the entire season. If Jaden Daniels doesn't run out of bounds or he doesn't slide or he doesn't have more awareness as a runner and he takes those big hits, he will not last in the NFL. Now, he does need to slide. He is someone that will just run, and a defender will tackle him, and that's how he goes down. Rarely will he slide, so he's going to have to learn to do that. And also, was he a byproduct of two elite receivers? Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr.'s, they are elite receivers. They are going to go in the first round. Did those two receivers prop him up? And then to a lesser extent, Kyron Lacy being there as well. Did that receiving room prop him up, or did they all kind of bring each other up and raise each other up? That's the question that a lot of people have to ask when they look at LSU this past season. Was it the receivers being great and they helped Jaden Daniels kind of elevate? Or did Jaden Daniels take that next step and help the receivers become elite? Now, Jaden Daniels can be inaccurate at times, and there are times where he knew he would be bailed out by his receivers if he was in trouble, and he would just throw up those YOLO balls. And he knew one of those two receivers would come down with it or try to deflect it, or he would throw it out of bounds because he loves throwing it to the sidelines where he knows that he can either throw it to the sideline or kind of hopefully his receiver will get there and get it. So he does like to throw to the boundaries. He is someone that instead of throwing it into the middle of the field, he will kind of roll out, kind of manipulate defenses, and then he'll just run and take off instead of taking that middle of the field to Kyron Lacy or to Mason Taylor. So that is what he does tend to do. So at the end of the day, was it just the perfect storm with him and LSU and he's just an average quarterback, or did he really develop? Now, while he does throw a good deep ball, he only has an average arm at best. He doesn't trust his reads when with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., when they were running those vertical routes, he knew he would have the coverage. He would see where the safety would go. And where the safety was leaning, he would go to the opposite way. If both those guys were taken, he would not trust the third read or the fourth read, which were in the middle of the field. He would just run, like I said earlier. And so that is an issue where he needs to trust throwing into the middle and trust his arm talent and trust that, I guess it's more of not being afraid to make a mistake. So he does look to run far too often though, but in the NFL, that's something that he'll have to kind of adjust and kind of gain some weight with that frame. Now, this past season, 10.8% of his passes or dropbacks were screens, 16.9% were play action. He was under pressure 25.5% of the time with 104 dropbacks, and he had 50% completion rate, and his A dot was 10.5 yards. Looking at him, it's likely that the Commanders, they like him. Could it be smokescreen? Maybe, but it seems like the Commanders are the spot for him. Could he also be a Patriot? You know, if the Commanders are doing a smokescreen and they really like Drake May or they like JJ, you know, it could be a smokescreen. But if Jaden Daniels doesn't become a Commander, it seems like the Patriots do kind of like him. So we'll have to see. But it's unlikely he falls out of the top five. But for me, he's my fourth ranked quarterback. Quarterback number 5 for me is going to be Spencer Rattler. He is 6 feet, 211 pounds. He has NFL arm talent. The ball just jumps out of his hands. He is able to layer throws with ease, has a quick release. It's very snappy. I do like that. Now, he also throws with multiple arm angles and he makes off platform plays with ease. He is a quick processor and he will extend plays in the pocket. Now, there is prospect fatigue with him. There definitely is. He's been in the public eye since he was a junior in high school. He had that Netflix show. And so, yeah, I get it and I understand that he was supposed to be this top talent. He was the quarterback 1 or 2 in the class, depending on the services, was recruited very highly. And, you know, he did not live up or measure to the lofty expectations that were put on him, but he is mentally strong. Rattler has been through it all, you know, from that Netflix show to being benched for Caleb Williams at Oklahoma to transferring to South Carolina. His final year at Oklahoma and during his time at South Carolina, Rattler was under duress. He had to get the ball out quick. He needs time. He needs time for a reset. He needs to go to a spot where he realizes that he is going to be protected, where he doesn't have to throw the ball and read defense within a second and a half and get the ball out by 2.5 seconds. I don't want to say he sees ghosts out there, but he is someone that the past 2 years, there are times where he feels as he's being under pressure and he will take the dump off or he will take the short route and get the ball out quick when he does have time if he rolls out of the pocket or he allows his offensive lineman to block for him. But he's been under duress the past couple of years. So for me, he is someone that needs to go to a spot where he needs to sit for a couple of years, you know, have the game slow down for him, see that the offensive lineman is there to protect him and to help him. And let's be real, South Carolina did not have a good offensive line. They ranked in the lower, I think they were ranked like 119th, and there's only like 135 teams in all of college football. So they didn't have a very good line. So it's easy to say all he does is dump the ball off, but when he has less than 2 seconds to process a defense and there's guys within his face and he needs to react, you can kind of see why he does what he does. So, you know, because of all this pressure, he does escape the pocket too quickly or take the check down instead of letting the play develop and throw a deep ball. But before the Georgia game this past season, he had a great stretch. He was completing 70% of his passes. He was throwing deep balls. He was having success. And he was someone that kind of turned around his perceived value or his perception of him as a player. He was able to turn that around and he could have left, he could have sulked, but he stuck it out at South Carolina. He made the best of that situation. Now, he is someone that I do like. I have him fifth. I might be too bullish on him, but I don't think he leaves day two without being drafted. I do think he finds an NFL home in day two at the NFL draft. Now, this past season on his dropbacks, 17.5% were screens, 24% of them were play action. He was under pressure 37.9% of the time, or 186 dropbacks. He completed 47.1 completions under pressure, and he had an A dot of 7.5 yards. Now, like I said, I do think he is someone that gets day two draft capital, and he is someone that I kind of hope goes to a spot where he isn't being asked to start right away. If he goes to a spot like the Raiders or maybe even the Broncos, if the Broncos get a stopgap guy where he can learn, or even with the Saints, where he isn't being asked to be the guy and he can just see NFL game speed and be able to practice and study and just have a year where there's no pressure and he can just breathe and relax and kind of get those ghosts behind him, I think he could have a very good NFL career. All the tools are there with Spencer Rattler. My sixth ranked quarterback is Michael Penix Jr. Now, with Michael Penix Jr., he is 6'2, 216 pounds. He is a lefty. He does have good arm. He can extend plays in the pocket, and he is a very good pocket navigator. Now, he did, by all indication, pass his medicals at the NFL Combine. That is a very good thing because he had a lot of injuries during his time in college from Indiana and Washington. Now, he was rarely ever pressured and he doesn't set his feet. And because of that, he is very inaccurate at times, especially when he is under pressure and under duress. He gets rattled too easy, and we saw in the college playoffs when he didn't have any pressure in him, he looked great against Texas. When there was mild pressure in the championship game against Michigan, he just unraveled and he would not set his feet. His throws would sail. They would be wide right, wide left. It would be short of the intended receiver. He was all over the place and he was rattled. And so when he goes to the NFL, if he doesn't have an elite offensive lineman in front of him, he is someone that is going to struggle. Now, he does have multiple ACL and shoulder injuries, and while he did pass the medicals, which is a good thing, he does have that history. I believe it's 2 ACLs, and I think he had 2 shoulder-ending injury, two season-ending injuries due to his shoulder. I believe it was an AC joint both times. I think it was in both shoulders, if I believe. Now, this past season, 12.8% of his dropbacks were screens, 32.2% were play action. He was under pressure 27.4% of the time, or 158 dropbacks. He completed 41.8% of those passes that he attempted under pressure, and he had 5 interceptions. His A dot was 10.7 yards. My seventh quarterback is Bo Nix. He is 6'2", 214 pounds. He's a very good athlete. He's mentally tough too. This class is full of guys that are mentally tough, and you can put mentally tough with Michael Penix as well, with his multiple season-ending injuries and coming back from them. So I did forget to mention that about Michael Penix. But with Bo Nix, he is mentally tough too. He went through the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and went back to being, with the absolute highs. He started at Auburn, where he had some success. He played very well against Alabama, had a very good success as a true freshman, and then the rest of the time at Auburn, it was abysmal, and he was unhappy, and he left. He went out west to Oregon, and he revitalized his stock, and he is someone that is able to process quickly. He does have a quick release, and I do have some negative traits about Bo Nix that I really do question. Was he a byproduct of the Oregon system? Now, we know at Oregon, they are predicated on space, where receivers, they get open, you throw it to them quickly on the move, and they create after the catch. Is he a byproduct of a great system and really good wide receivers that helped him elevate. Now, Bo Nix, he panics when under pressure, and he panics really fast and really quick. And he will check down far too often. And there are times where he will check down or he will take that quick slant to, Troy Franklin or Tez Johnson, and he will kind of take that check down and kind of move the chains, which isn't a bad thing, but there are times where I want to see him hold on to the ball and kind of throw it deep. So to me, Bo Nix is more of a project than what people are kind of indicating. I get the second round evaluation for some people. He's always had a fifth round grade for me. I've just always been lower on him, and I'm just not that high on Bo Nix, but I understand the people that are. I understand what he does well, but the things that he doesn't do well and the things that he needs to improve, to me, it far weighs his positives. Now, this past season, 22.2% of his dropbacks were screens, 36.7% were play action. He was under pressure 15.8%. Let me repeat that. He was under pressure 15.8% of his dropbacks, or 79 dropbacks in total. He had a 67.2% completion because all he did was check down. His ADOT was 6.8 yards. His time to throw, which I toyed with bringing that up with all these prospects, but I didn't, because with time to throw, a lot of it could be pressure. A lot of it could also be the system. With Bo Nix, his average time to throw was 2.44 seconds. He was getting the ball out quick. He was not hanging on to it to try to extend plays, to try to throw it deep. He was just getting it out there so his playmakers can make play. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just wanted to highlight some of those because lately people are kind of propping up Bo Nix as a guy who could be a first-round pick. And while he very well may be a first-round pick, I have a fifth-round grade on the guy. My eighth-ranked quarterback is Michael Pratt. He is 6'2", 217 pounds, and what he does well is he is able to layer his throws. He is a very good passer. He has very good vision. He throws with anticipation, and he is a good decision maker. Now, he has the intangible. He has that will to win games. When you watch the game against USC in the bowl game from the 2022-2023 season, you see that there's NFL talent there. The overall issue with him is his arm strength is average at best, and he is overall not a great athlete. He kind of projects to be one of those backup quarterbacks that will spend 10 to 12 years in the league and is a viable starter. He feels like one of those where if you give him a chance to start, he'll win you games. He won't be an elite quarterback, but he'll be someone that will kind of be a good Band-Aid guy. He's kind of like a Bailey Zappi kind of a guy where if he's forced to be a starter, he'll be okay. He knows his limitations, and he can carve out that niche of being a 30th to 36th ranked quarterback, where he's a high-end backup, where he makes a living off of that, and being a smart quarterback and knowing his limitations and taking what the defenses gives you. And that goes a long way in the NFL. So I do have him ranked as my eighth ranked quarterback. This past season, he was under pressure 30.4% of the time, or 103 dropbacks, and he completed 47.7% of his throws while under pressure. 7.7% of the dropbacks were screens, 21.5% were play actions, and his ADOT was 10.9 yards. My ninth quarterback, and we're getting to the area where it's like, who's left? My ninth ranked quarterback is Austin Reed. He is 6'2", 220 pounds, and he is my dark horse quarterback. I don't think he's going to be, a top 12 or a top 15 quarterback by any means, but I think he's someone that'll get drafted day 3. You'll hear some camp buzz about him, and he finds a way to stick onto a roster. So but by dark horse, I don't mean for fantasy purposes, more for like real life purposes, where he is someone that will be a good backup for your team, where he does things that are nice and you kind of like that, where you have a safe backup. He's one of those guys. He's kind of like that. What I was talking about with Michael Pratt. Now he comes from the air raid system, the spread system with Western Kentucky, and he is the second all time in history at Western Kentucky in touchdown passes and third in yards. Now, he does have good arm strength and he throws with anticipation. He has a quick release and he is able to manipulate corners. He has enough mobility to buy additional time, and he was invited to the NFL Combine. That does go a long way when we're talking about these day 3 guys and these guys that are potentially a backup or potentially on the back half of your NFL rosters, where you kind of look at it and say, hey, can he develop into something? Can he be a Gardner Minshew? Can he be an elevated Brock Purdy if he's in the right system? Can he be that kind of a guy? Now, what he does need to do or need to improve on is he needs to improve footwork, questionable competition in the group of 5 conferences. Can he operate out of a traditional offense? And a lot of his throws were the short area passes to Malachi Corley. So is he someone that can read defenses, go through his progressions and all of that? So there are some questions with him, but I kind of like him. 24% of his dropbacks for screens this past year, with 20.4% being play action. When under pressure, he was pressured 24.8% of the time, or 122 dropbacks for 42.7% completions with 4 interceptions. His A dot was 8 yards. He's going to be a day 3 guy. The 10th guy to round out the top 10. I was not going to put Joe Milton on this list. I simply was not. Number 10 is Carter Bradley. He is 6'3", 218 pounds. He is a coach's son. Gus Bradley is his dad. So could he be a Commanders with a late round pick and be on the practice squad? Yeah, I could see that. He has good arm talent, good pocket movement. He's quick to process defenses, so I do kind of like that. I understand that's on the G5 level, but he is able to manipulate defenses. Could he be a Cooper Rush, Gardner Minshew type? I can see that in the right spot where he's able to be on the practice squad, given time. I can kind of see that. He could be one of those where in the second year in the league, he does well in the preseason. Someone trades for him. I see opportunities. He has outs. Now, we're not talking fantasy. We're talking real life. These guys from 7 to 10, they aren't going to be fantasy relevant. They're going to be more NFL depth relevant. His things were I kind of want to see improvement on, or things I have questions on, is his competition coming from the G5. His internal clock is pretty fast. He will check down when he still has time, when he still has room to step up. So there's not guys in his face and he's already checking down. So I kind of want to see him kind of hold the ball, allow his play to develop. And he does prefer to throw short and to the boundary and kind of avoid those possible turnover worthy plays. This past season on his dropbacks, 20.5% were screens, 32.6% were play action, and he was under pressure 29.6% of the time, or 110 dropbacks, and he completed 45.3% of his completions with 4 interceptions. His ADOT was 7.9 yards. So that is the top 10 of the NFL quarterbacks. We're almost there. We're almost at the time for the NFL draft, and all of these Devy guys will be going onto your NFL rosters, and we can focus on the 2025 season with the 25 Devy guys, the 26 Devy guys, and the freshmen. Now, we'll be back next time, but before we go, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and you can follow me at Andy_fam1. Now, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, give us a rate and review, and we'll see you next time on the Devy Digest.